everyone, this is Keith Scott from our home city, Australia. I'm one of the voices of Bull Energy Loose. It's time to watch Relentless and Unstoppable. And so give it up for your main hosts, Douglas Kenney and Andy McPhee.
And definitely don't act on emotion, act on reason. That's another. What's special about this moment? I always like doing my videos for YouTube. They're always enjoyable. What's been the miracle in the mundane for you lately? That's a tough one. Miracle in the mundane is, with my very boring, rigid sketch of schedule at my residential home I live in. The miracle is I'm enjoying a nice job at Jersey Mike's Subs. The Jersey Mike's role is awesome, and the fact I'm performing very well at Jersey Mike's, says a lot about, my skill and my abilities. So, it's just awesome. It's a lot of fun, quirking out the goofy sandwich puns I give to customers, and enjoying and entertaining people, it's just awesome. And then getting the occasional shake of the head from my managers as I'm giving goofy sandwich puns to people and coming up with new puns occasionally. It's just, yeah, it's pretty cool. So that's a miracle is I've held a job for a year successfully. So that's really cool. Where have I felt most rejected? Well, when I was in high school and when I was in middle school and even elementary school, I faced a lot of exclusion and a lot of bullying from people. And also, throughout my time of being in school and even through my adulthood, occasionally I'm the victim of discrimination and bigotry, although I don't really pay it much heed anymore. But throughout my early adulthood and even when I was in high school and younger, there were times where I got called the R word by people, especially by people that knew of my autism status. And so, you know, I got bullied. I was physically bullied and I was mentally bullied by family growing up. And so it was a very tough time. But the good news is I don't really pay it much heed anymore because people are bullying because they're unhappy and we autistic people possess a lot of things that neurotypical people don't have or don't have the capacity to have, and so there's a lot of jealousy and bigotry and but in my opinion it's only a matter of time before the R word is seen as dehumanizing and as bad as the N word towards the African American community. So but that's just my opinion. But I felt most rejected when I was bullied by people for being autistic. And it's just when I read in the news and when I read on social media about how Paris Jackson was bullied and sexually bullied and how she lost her father and how she lost her father, to the actions of a doctor that didn't know what the hell he was doing. It's like, I feel very bad for Paris and anybody that's the victim of bullying. So the bottom line is, whenever I was bullied growing up, and even in adulthood, I feel rejected, but I try for the most part to not pay it any heed because I know my value and I know who I am for the world. So, yeah. Where have I felt most accepted? Definitely at Jersey Mike's Subs. Working there has been a very fun privilege and it's quite a responsibility. I feel accepted there because I'm allowed some autonomy that I'm denied at home and when I'm denied with my mom and it's always nice to have fun and to entertain the crowd with my sandwich humor and make sandwiches for people and occasionally when it's appropriate share my channel to people and and help people know that people with autism like myself, we do have abilities and we can do things that others do. In a lot of ways we're human as well. And so, it's always nice to be accepted at Jersey Mike's and to get my managers laughing and cheering whenever I'm working and making milestones and, when I'm making sandwiches, and also occasionally teasing my colleague, Zach. It's always fun. And then seeing me give those goofy sandwich puns, such as "we're the best thing since sliced bread" while holding a knife, doing all that, and then seeing the occasional shake of the head from my manager, and then helping out with the Day of Giving, which was just recently, and helping raise donations for Special Olympics, It's just really cool. It's really cool. So, I'm not gonna ever forget working there. It's a great company. So, yeah, it's really cool. That's where I feel accepted the most is at Jersey Mike's. And then also, in fairness, as a guy who's in the motorsports industry, I do feel accepted by the motorsports industry with all the guests I brought onto YouTube. And when I'm at a race, I get recognized by people that watch my channel. And I've gotten recognized when I go to NASCAR races in the past. And I have some drivers in some of my inner circle. And, I promote a lot of unknown drivers and young drivers that are just entering the sport, such as little Casey Klein, who's a star on the rise in ASA Nationals, and Dodge Carlbert is a really cool guy, and I always love promoting him and his UARA championships and his driving as a UARA champion. So it's just cool. And then obviously, sadly last year I lost some of my NASCAR allies because I stood up to the NASCAR leadership and stood by 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports and Richard Childress. And I did face cyberbullying from people in the NASCAR community, but they're going through their own what I call Brad Keselowski phase towards Michael Jordan. And I know from having cyberbully people and Brad Keselowski and the Brad Keselowski fan base, that it's those people just don't know what they're talking about. They're just suffering and they're upset and angry, and so they're taking it out on others. And so, even though I faced bullying from some NASCAR people, including people that were once my NASCAR allies, because I refused to stand by the NASCAR leadership and their unprofessionalism, it's you know, I have no regrets. I have no regrets. And, in the end, Michael Jordan in 2311 and Front Row Motorsports and Bob Jenkins and Denny Hamlin were vindicated. They were vindicated by the outcome of the lawsuit, and thereby my opinions were vindicated as well. And so, in the end, the case was won, and I'm very happy about it. I have no regrets.
Gee, that's all we have for Relentless and Unstoppable. So tune into the next episode to hear more amazing stories from amazing guests. This is Keith Scott from Sydney, Australia saying so long, and I'm smarter than the average bear. Gee.